change in biomechanics over the years. Back when people first started running recreationally, it was back in the 60s with Frank Shorter, Bill Rogers, all these 5'6", 130-pound guys who are very efficient. They wore shoes that were very thin, like the ones that I'm wearing right now. And the reason is they didn't need that much cushioning, they didn't need much structure because of how biomechanically efficient they were. But over the years, as running became more and more popular, they tried to make shoes to cover the entire population. So they added more cushioning in the heels because people were running on harder surfaces, and that just tended to be where a lot of the impact was being drawn. But a few years ago, a book called Born to Run came out, talking about how a tribe of Indians in Mexico ran barefoot and how efficient they were and how long they could go. And so a lot of science has been put into it, and you can actually find studies going either way, saying it does matter or it doesn't matter. But anecdotally, a lot of people do see huge changes in how they run just by changing to more of what's called a natural running or good form running, or some people call it barefoot running if they're running in a barefoot running shoe. But really it's just a technique that changes you from landing on your heels, where you heel strike like this, to landing more like this, like on the middle or the front of your foot. And so if you think about it, when you're coming down, if you're heel striking, your leg is locked out and your heel is hitting the ground like this. Your knee is locked out, and so all the impact is being felt right there in the knees, and then it rotates your hips that way. And so it can create very large inefficiencies, but also puts a lot of impact on your body. Also, if you think about it, if you're stopping yourself for a split second, you have to restart yourself. So you have to pull your energy or your body over and use more energy to get over your foot. Now, if we can train you to get to where you land, you're leaning forward and you land on the midfoot like this, my body's already over my foot. There's nothing that's stopping me, and then my momentum can continue going forward like that. And so the drills and exercises that we're going to go over are basically going to help reinforce a running motion that's more like that. And it's one of those things where the drills need to be done once or twice a week, really to make it a muscle memory type of thing. And don't get discouraged if you go out on a run and you can't do it for longer than a half mile or a mile at first, because you are using different muscles, and it's basically putting stress on muscles that haven't been used as much. And so it takes time, just like any other activity. Like if you couldn't do a push-up about a couple months ago, now you can do 20 push-ups. You had to train those muscles to get to that point. So we'll kind of get into it right now. If everybody wants to stand up, we'll just kind of do a few things right here in the room, just to kind of show you some of the techniques and some of the main philosophical points to it. So you want to have really good posture with this. If you can get anything out of this, have good posture. That's one of the 3 keys that I usually go over. The reason being is if you're bending at the waist, if you're bending at the head, then you're going to throw off your biomechanics. But if you have a really tight core and you're focusing on firing your glutes, you're really tight from here to here. And I know that Carrie probably focuses on that stuff a lot. Driving from the hips and strengthening your core, stuff like that. And that really does help with natural running. So once you have that good posture, I just want you to kind of see how tall you can get without, just open up your chest and get as tall as you can. And so this is how you really want to be feeling, and you want to carry that over. Now while you're in this position, now I want you to lean from the ankles, kind of like if you're a downhill skier or if you're on a Segway, if you've seen one of those things. Just lean forward right at the feet, right before you fall over, and you'll probably end up on your toes, but make sure you're leaning at the ankles. And then just lean back, all right? Now did you feel how your center of balance is up here, and then bring it back like that, okay? So that is one of the core things right there, because we want to use gravity for our own benefits. And so if we're leaning forward like this, eventually you're going to fall forward and your foot's going to catch it, okay? And notice when my foot came down, I landed flat like this, my knee was bent, and my leg was back like this. And so that's really, if you looked at a picture of the top 10 guys at the Boston Marathon, this is how their body is looking when they're landing. Their leg is extended like this, their knees bent. This is what we're trying to focus on. So I want everybody to try that. Get really tall again. Start leaning forward from the feet until you have to take that step. All right? Notice that your foot did come down flat, or you cannot heel strike when you do this. All right? So next thing I want you to do, we're going to pretend to jump rope, not for long, but just notice when you're jump roping where you're landing. All right?
These don't count. We have a jump rope challenge this month. These don't count.
On your midfoot as well, okay? Now, try jumping on your heels. Alright? Not a fun thing. So if you think about it, running is basically jumping from one foot to the next. Okay? And so if you're running in place like this, you're also landing on your midfoot, but you're jumping from foot to foot. Okay? So now we're basically taking this position of running in place, leaning forward at the ankles, and then we're just going to start moving forward like that. Alright? So, now the drills that we're going to be doing, we can do these drills in here, this is not too crazy. The drills that we're going to be doing are basically going to help stretch the hips, they're going to help pull the knees up, and they're going to help get your legs kind of kicking so that kind of get your leg out of the way. So, first off, I just want you to, it's going to be a little bit of a stretching thing. You guys did some stretching earlier. It's basically a hip stretch, but step, and then I want you to pull your leg up to your chest like this, and you take a couple of steps. If you want to, you can cross to the other side of the room and end up over there. But basically what we're doing here is we're just trying to open up the hips, because like what I was saying with those Boston runners, their hips are at a huge angle. And so that's where we're going to get that long stride. So when people say that you want to have a really long stride, not necessarily true. We want a long stride to the back where we're pushing off like that. We're not trying to kick forward and make a long run. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Next up, and actually I'm going to forward a list of exercises for you, Carrie, so you can send on these drills to everybody in a list.
Awesome.
Next up, high knees. I want you to put your hands at your waist, and I want you to bring your knees to your hands, not your hands to your knees, okay? So, just bring them up like this. All right? Notice you're also landing on the midfoot, doing this. And theoretically, when you're doing this at home, if you wanted to, you could move forward. Ideally, I would go down your property, or maybe like 50 feet or so, just doing this. But by doing that, and I'll do this by myself right here, got my hands here, I'm landing and moving forward, landing on my midfoot at the same time. But one of the second thing that I really want everybody to focus on when they are doing the natural running is picking up your knees. Because to progress the leg forward, or to progress your foot forward, you can either kick it forward like this, heel strike, or if you're leaning forward, you can do this, and pick up your knee, see how my foot is trailing, and so when it comes down, it's already up here. So those are the two different ways that your foot can actually make it forward. Alright, so next up, butt kickers. I want you to kick your own butt with your own heels. So basically, just going like this. Now this is doing a couple of things. Strengthening your hamstrings. Don't kick that.
Haptic.
It's strengthening your hamstrings, but it's also training your legs to pick up a little bit more as well. Because in the whole stride, as your leg, I love this thing, it's right here. You pick up your knee, but also this foot needs to come up too to get out of the way of the ground. Or else, if you're just picking up the knee, you could just be dragging across the ground. So we want to have that to where the knees or the foot's actually coming up. So we've got the high knees, the butt kickers. The next thing it's skipping. All right. So skipping is not one of those things that is actually a very good thing to do indoors. I'll just kind of go over a few things with you. The reason that we want to do a skipping drill is because when I'm in this position, the really powerful running, the reason that they have this long angle is because, let's just say it's this leg right here, this leg is pushing me forward, okay? That's a lot of glute firing, and it's a lot of quads firing. And so skipping is basically trying to push myself as far as I can forward, or up like this, okay? And so I'm basically jumping up. Now what we want to do is that same mechanism of firing the glutes and the quads, it's going to be pushing us forward like that. And that's where we're going to get that power. And if you think about it, the quads, the glutes, the hamstrings, those are huge muscles that a lot of times get underutilized. And so if we can use these huge muscles, they're going to be able to take the brunt of running a lot easier than your calves and a lot of the other smaller supportive muscles. And so if we can fire everything up here, it's going to make your running efficiency much better. So one of the things I usually tell people to focus on, doing the squats, doing the lunges, everything that she's torturing you with, you need to continue to do that stuff. I hear stories, Carrie. And so
Not from anyone in here, of course.
No. I'm scared of silence. So basically, the skipping will actually help a lot. Now, You might want to do it when it's dark out so your neighbors don't think you're weird. But doing the skipping actually is very beneficial. And then the last thing I want everybody to do, if you want to try this out outside, what I usually do is, I'll come down here. Alright, so running in place of the big high knees like this, and then slowly start moving forward like this, and then a little bit faster, a little bit faster, a little bit faster, all the way until you're at a full-out sprint. But ideally, when you do it, if you start out really slow with the short strides, then we will continue those as we get faster. And so eventually you're going to find that spot where you're not going to overexert with your lungs, and just a nice, comfortable run just like this. And so when we're doing that, the one thing we want to focus on is having fast feet. And so if you've ever done a ladder drill or anything like that, where you have to go in and out of the ladder, we want to have really fast feet like that. Ideally, it's about 180 strides per minute. And you can go 170 to 190. Most people right now, if they heel strike, is about 130 to 150. And so that's the biggest and one of the hardest things to do, is actually speeding up your cadence. Now, it's important because if you have fast feet, there's no way that you can actually get your foot forward in time to actually kick it forward, pull yourself, and get on to the next step, and actually have 180 strides per minute. So, the drills that I want you to focus on are the high knees, butt kickers, skipping, and then that slow to fast sprint out. And then the 3 tips that you want to focus on for the most part: the good posture. And one thing I actually forgot about on the posture is you want to avoid rotating with your arms. So you want everything swinging from the shoulders at about a 90-degree angle, and you want to kind of brush your sides when you're doing it. But you don't want your arms coming across like this, because that's creating rotational forces. It's not helping you go forward. But if you can get everything moving forward so that your arms' momentum are taking you forward as well, that's going to help a lot. And if you think about it, if you look at a sprinter, and they have huge upper bodies. The reason being is because they're pumping their arms so hard that it's actually helping drive them down whatever, 100 meters, 200 meters. But that's why they have such huge upper bodies. And that's why, if you think about it, they're down in the blocks like this also, and they're leaning forward at an extreme angle. They don't really leave that angle until they're at the finish line. So if you think about, we're just trying to take that really extreme angle, taking it from there, and taking it up to like this, and that's where our running angle is going to be. So the 3 keys that I want you to think about are having that good posture with the lean forward, having high knees, because the high knees and then the fast cadence of 180 steps, those 3 things together, if you can just focus on those 3 things when you're running, those are the ones that are going to actually help with the efficiency the most and keep everything a little bit more aligned and more straight. You're going to get a shorter stride, definitely going to see a big improvement in efficiency. So, like I said, I will send those tips. If anybody wants to try it out, I can kind of analyze any of you outside, because you really need to get into it. But I'll be here for a while if you want to do that. But otherwise, does anybody have any questions? Go for it.
Show me that skipping one again.
The skipping thing?
Yeah,
guys don't
only
skip
one looking
very
like
well.
an idiot.
That's the thing. Alright, so
I don't mind.
it's just like if you're running. This arm's going forward. So left arm, right leg. So opposites, just like this. I know. It's one thing, whenever I have guys in the group, I always feel bad because it never works out well. So, and it took me many, many times to actually get it right. But just kind of, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just skip like this and just get used to it, you know, and then from there, make it more powerful. So, got it. Any other questions?
Breathing when you're running?
You know, honestly, you just want to be in a conversational place. And there's no method to breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, or anything like that. Even if you were breathing in and out through your mouth, only 20% of the oxygen that you're breathing out, or that you're breathing in, is being processed. So the stuff that you're breathing out, they say, oh, you're breathing in the carbon dioxide and just exhale. Not true. So really, it's just you want to have it to where you can actually carry on the conversation, and then whatever your nose or your mouth, whatever is open and is breathing, go for it. So.
What if they're at shortness of breath? What would you suggest them to do?
Slow down. Take a walk, right? You know, it's okay to walk because just running in general, sometimes you're just not prepared for, doing it for an extended period of time. So you just have to, work. One thing that you're doing with your running is you're developing